Right, hello there everybody, WhatCulture Wrestling's Adam Cleary here, and I'm sorry, but you have all asked for this. Every single time I log on to the amazing American internet, I see some kind of searing hot take about how Vince McMahon could just fix WWE if he did whatever it is you think he should do. But the thing is, it's always something different, isn't it? It's always a million different ideas from a million different people. So I'm just going to sort it once and for all right now. I'm going to fix it for everybody. Then we're going to draw a line under it. And we can get on with the important things in wrestling, like telling Guido how to book or sending Miller shampoo samples. And to do that, I'm going to tell you precisely where Vince McMahon is going wrong with WWE, how he can fix that. But in order to do that, I'm going to first have to tell you what he is doing right, because it adds valuable context. Alright, so Monday Night Raw, and if you remember the post-WrestleMania episode of it, this will seem very, very shocking, but it now feels like it has purpose and direction. It's not chaotic anymore. Like this week, for example, they actually promoted almost all of next week's show in advance, meaning there can be no hasty bad rewrites. Despite the fact he had and I'll be kind here, relatively poor start, Paul Heyman's Monday Night Raw now feels like it's got its own identity. It feels like it's its own beast. It's fairly coherent. It tends to make a lot of sense. There are hooks early in the night which incentivize you to watch until the very end, and this new squash match prerogative they've got actually creates a tiered system for the show's stars. Like, genuinely, if you're wondering why we get so many squash matches on Raw, it's because previous to this, we just had this monotony of overlong 50-50 feuds, which never really carried any stakes. Whereas now, some people are winning matches every single week, and sooner or later, when you put those two people together, it's actually going to feel important. Paul Heyman's always been a savvy booker, and he's proving that he still knows how to do it with Monday Night Raw. Like, he's writing it as this weird sensationalist soap opera, and in the process he is grabbing headlines and improving the ratings. Like, Raw has always had this really talented roster, but he is handpicking some people out of that group and then genuinely pushing them with genuine conviction while encouraging them to bring back the televised wrestling banger. Like, Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy was amazing. You never would have had a match that good at the start of the year. Like, he is simultaneously writing for that audience of one, Vince, but he's also bringing back the jaded fan base at the same time. No pun intended here, right? But the show has had its ups and it has had its downs, but it has been really, really consistently good since about, Survivor Series? That's like 3 or 4 months now. And when was the last time Raw was consistently worth watching for 3 or 4 months? The 90s? And then look, beyond Raw, NXT has been brilliant since it moved to the USA Network. This rich storytelling they've got, the banging quality of the matches. The women's division there is one of the best things in all of pro wrestling at the minute. And as I presume some of you know, I do our weekly NXT Roundup show. I can tell you I've watched every single minute of this on the USA Network. It still has some of the tired old lame tropes that come with WWE, because after all, it is a WWE product, but even then, it manages to navigate those really well. Case in point, right? Cast your minds back to Finn Balor versus Adam Cole. This was a lame, tired, distraction finish that we've seen in so many title matches in WWE, and they always leave the person who gets rolled up looking like an idiot. Except when they did it in this match, it actually made sense. As things were building to a conclusion, Johnny Gargano, who has a genuine reason to want to cost Finn Balor that match, emerged without entrance music to the top of the ramp. Now, this confused and distracted Finn Balor, but it confused and distracted everybody in the arena at the same time. Everyone was going like, what the hell? So it made sense that he would be doing that as well. And then Adam Cole, instead of doing a lame roll-up, just hit him in the dick, took full advantage of the situation because everybody was confused. What you have there is genuine motivation leading to genuine confusion, leading to genuine opportunism, which contrasts to Kevin Owens getting done by Goldberg in that match. That was just some music playing and him going, well, I guess I'm just gonna look around for ages and just pay no attention to the man behind me. NXT is really well produced and it's really, really good. Monday Night Raw is forward-thinking and genuinely doing something that's worth watching. And the reason for both of these is because Vince McMahon only has limited editorial control over the both of them. Triple H and Paul Heyman are the driving forces. So what about the show I'm deliberately not mentioning? Smackdown on Fox. The moment the money came pouring through the door from the network for this show, it became Vince McMahon's baby, and he decided, despite saying he couldn't do this, remember, to get back amongst the weeds. Now, before I drop trow and get up to my nuts in the guts of this show, I will say that it is also fairly coherently booked, and that you can see they are trying to push a creative vision there. It's just that said creative vision is dog shit. And as a result, everything on Smackdown at the minute just feels so synthetic and devoid of real emotion. Where we've said things on Raw are larger than life, yes, but they do still entertain you, and the stuff on NXT is logically booked and believable. Smackdown is just neither of these things. It's trying to do the Raw thing without being entertaining, and it's trying to do the NXT thing without being logical. It's just really, really, really bad. Case in point, right, The Miz cares more about posturing in front of the hard cam than he does avenging his own children. And then Roman Reigns, who was the most humanized he has ever been after what happened to him last year, is now being pushed towards being a literal dog. Just want to quickly reiterate that point because I don't want it to get lost in the middle of this video. Roman Reigns has never felt more like a human being, and Vince McMahon now wants you to think of him as a dog. As a dog, with dog food and barking dogs, a dog, when he's never felt more like a human being. A dog. It's not just that either. The scripted promos are absolutely horrendous when they're not given to somebody who has just natural delivery or unbelievable charisma to compensate for it. The commentators force feed you exposition instead of letting you feel the emotion. And the backstage interviewers ask questions that are either just blindingly obvious or hilariously inappropriate in the circumstances. Not a single element of that show is being done well. And these are not just SmackDown problems, they do spread across WWE. Raw is good, but it's not immune from this kind of thing. Like, this is a small example, but it pretty much sums everything up. When Ricochet does something absolutely unbelievable, where he does something defies physics, something that a human being should not be able to do, Vic Joseph et al. Do not gasp in astonishment. They just remind you that he's a real-life superhero. Like, we get it. Just let us enjoy what he's doing. Like even the Rusev, Bobby Lashley, Lana, Liv Morgan thing, which has, if nothing else, grabbed everybody's attention. This was the week where it got really serious. Rusev put aside all the gimmicks and jumping out of kicks and said he was finally gonna get serious. He promised brutality, but he did it in a Hawaiian shirt in front of a green screen background. Like, he's never been more serious in this program. This was it finally getting serious, and it was impossible to take him seriously. I mean, is it too simplistic for me to say, where is Vince McMahon going wrong with WWE? Simply existing? Yes, it is, but it's also not untrue. Now, I don't want to veer too far into the whole AEW comparison territory because I am as sick of that discourse as you are, and AEW is far from a perfect product, but there is at least one or two lessons there that WWE should be learning. And basically, right, look at Chris Jericho and look at the work he is doing to elevate that top championship. What he's doing there is not hard, it's not complicated, it's not even that brilliant, but it's the kind of thing WWE would never, ever, ever do. Chris Jericho is a 50-year-old man who, by his own admission, is not in the best of shape, who talks like a dog, who wears ridiculous clothes, and willingly acts like a fool. But he does all of that so that he can logically end up in programs with younger or up-and-coming stars. Thus, he, as a champion, remains credible. He doesn't intentionally get himself disqualified. He doesn't run away from a fight. He either just cheats to win effectively or he beats his opponent clean. He is a legitimate, bona fide heel world champion, and he gets over on his own terms because the company trusts him to get over on his own terms. They know that he knows what he's doing, so they just let him do it. And the work he is doing is actively shaping AEW as a product, whereas in WWE, they want the product to actively shape their wrestlers, and it doesn't work. And that's the whole root of this problem about the product shaping the performer rather than the performers shaping the product. Like Chris Jericho, this version of Chris Jericho in WWE could not work for a million reasons. He's not like an obvious face other companies. He's not going to go out and do all the cool meet and greet stuff. He's not in good enough shape for Vince McMahon. Every time he gets a meme over, it would be run into the ground, whereas Jericho knew how to capitalize on a little bit of the bubbly, but then drop it before it got old. Chris Jericho and AEW get how wrestling fans' minds work and produce something that they know, or hope at least, they are going to like. It doesn't always work. They've done some really, really lame stuff, but they've also done some brilliant stuff as well. Contrast that to WWE, where it feels like the same product, the same company, the same show, regardless of who is world champion. Like Seth Rollins dethroning Brock Lesnar should make the whole thing feel really different. Like the top title's back on television, it should feel like a different show, and it just didn't. And the reason it didn't was because they were still having the same lame, tired, written promos pushed upon them, still having to do the same tired, lame old WWE shtick. It just, nothing changes. The company just puts out the product it wants to do, and the wrestlers kind of have to fit in around it. Whereas AEW, and to a lesser extent NXT, the show feels like it changes depending on who's on top at the time. That's what makes good wrestling. And then there's just that like unquantifiable, undefinable cool factor, isn't there? Like Jericho is cool because he's not trying to be cool. Like he talks like an idiot and the jackets are really bad and he's out of shape, but somehow you watch him and it's cool. He's got a gorgeous belt and a silly hat and he drinks champagne, and it's just, that's what you want a world champion to be like. Whereas again, contrast that to when Seth Rollins was giving the big push in WWE. It was like, all right, guys, it's a dork. Now, the thing is, Seth Rollins isn't probably a dork in real life. It was just all the stuff he was having to do on television made him look like a dork. He would never have done those Brock Lesnar impressions or just, oh, come on, guys, like if that was really him. But the difference is Jericho has the brush firmly in his own hand. He's painting whatever picture he wants. And just Rollins is there looking over his shoulder going, like this, Vince? You want the trees there? And what this all boils down to, right, is that wrestling is at its very best when it is one of two things. It's either so real that it resonates something deep inside of you, or it's so absurdly over the top that you have to just simply marvel at the balls-out brass neck of it all. And in classic WWE fashion, what do? They 50-50 book those things against each other. Yawn. So there you go. Fixed it for you. Vince and Co. The WhatCulture address is on the website if you want to send me a nice big fat check, but of course your personal thanks on Twitter would be compensation enough for me. Let me know what you made of it all in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. What do you mean the jacket? The heater is broken in here. I am absolutely freezing. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I've of course been Adam Cleary. Happy New Year, I guess, and I'll see you soon. Bye.